All right, this is a 2010 Dodge Ram 1500. It won't start. The first thing I checked and I listened for was the fuel pump, which wasn't priming. So that was my first indication. And this is more for specifically your fuel pump issues with that. So on the 2009 and 10, they have a fuse box that is different from the 2011 and up. So on this, there's three things you want to check. One is the fuse for the fuel pump. The second one is the relay. The third is the actual pump itself. Because there's no point in replacing all three of those unless they're all working. You need to trace down what the issue is. So I checked the fuse. Fuse was good. On the 2009 and 10, the fuse is always hot, and the fuse supplies power to the relay. On the 2011, I think the relay goes through the fuse next after it's on. I think it's a little bit different. So this is more for 2009 and 10. So fuse was good. Check that fuse. You can pull it on the fuse box. You can see it there. But I wasn't sure how to check the relay to see if the relay was actuating and getting power. So here's what I did. And there might be a simpler way, but I went ahead and pulled up the fuse box, and there's these tabs in here. There's two of these on each side you push in, and then you have to get a flathead screwdriver to push these in to get it out. There's three on the front. Well, the fuel pump power wire is dark blue with an orange stripe. Honestly, on here, this isn't the one. This is not the one. That has a pink stripe. It's hard to see, but it's the one behind that, right where where that pin is sticking into, right there. Not the pink one, but the one behind that. It's hard to see. Right there. My finger's kind of on it. So that's the wire you want to check if you're getting power, because if your fuse is good, the very next thing you want to check is that. So what I did was put a pin in there, stuck it in to where I can get good contact, wrapped around a wire, hook that to my voltmeter. It's a little complicated, just the way it turned out. Now I got my negative terminal on for the voltmeter. My voltmeter is set up, and generally, when you put it to the on position, it should turn on. So no voltage. There you go, 12 volts. And it should probably cut out. Yep. So it runs for about 2 or 3 seconds, and then it'll cut out. So I know the relay is working properly. So that means that I'm about 90% sure it's the fuel pump. Probably the last check you want to do is to make sure you have power running from that dark blue and orange wire all the way back to the fuel pump. But I would say in 99.9 cases, unless you were in a wreck and something might have ripped it up, that wire isn't going to be damaged. And it's probably best to go ahead and drop the fuel tank, then immediately test that wire to make sure you're getting power, and then replace the fuel pump. Anyway, hope that helps. This can be different for the 2011 and up. So this is mainly for the 2010 and 2009. Hope this helps some of y'all diagnose fuel issues if your fuel pump isn't priming. I've also heard of the 2009 and 10 Dodge Ram 1500s. The relay is inside of the fuse box. You can't replace it. You have to disassemble the fuse box. It's soldered onto the electrical panel. It sucks. I'll show some pictures of that, but that sucks. I haven't read anywhere online of actually people having that issue. I know on the 2011s and up, they have that issue, and I'm sure some of the 9s and the 10s have that issue, but I think overall it's pretty uncommon for that to happen. Hopefully that will never happen to me, but it is one thing to consider, because if I wasn't getting voltage from right there, I would say it's my relay, and that's when you have to, I think you can ship out your box to get it repaired, or you can order a used one that's already been repaired for the fuel pump relay in particular for around $500. But anyway, I hope that helps. Also on the 2010, fuse for the fuel pump is here. The fuse is before the relay. So this fuse is always hot. It always has voltage going through it. I believe even when the engine is off. That way the relay can fire over, I think, when you do a remote start, something like that. Anyway, that relay is, or that fuse goes to the relay and powers the relay. So you always get voltage on this. I mean, obviously check your fuse first to make sure it's not burnt out if your fuel pump isn't priming. And my issue was I got in the truck, started it, and here's what it felt like. When you push the accelerator all the way to the floor and then try and crank it, it won't turn over, it won't fire. It won't either give it spark or fuel, I'm not sure. You can sometimes do that after an oil change to build pressure. Well, it felt just like that. So it turned and turned and turned, wouldn't start at all. Wouldn't even try and start, which I was a little bit surprised about. But I didn't hear my fuel pump running at all. So I thought it was either the fuel pump or a relay or a fuse. Another good thing to do if you're swapping fuel pumps is to test the old and the new. So, I mean, right here I can see that this right terminal, these two will go to the sensor right here. The level, so we don't want to touch those, but this red one is presumably positive, this other one is ground. So sure enough, I hooked it up to a small battery, ran it over here, and put the positive in right here, ground in right here. Nothing at all, nothing happened. Went over here to the new one, put the positive one on the far right, ground on the far left, immediately started pumping. That's exactly what you want to test before you get it all back together.